Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the A Collision with Purpose project in the Spotlight. Today, the A Collision with Purpose project Spotlight is on Elder Joan T. Randall. Elder Randall is a mother and a grandmother. She is an international speaker, award-winning, multi-best-selling author. She's a business coach, an independent publisher. She is president of Joan T. Randall Enterprise, LLC, founder of Victorious You Press, and creator of the Intensive Academy's Book to Business and Beyond. Wow, this is a bio, but let me continue. Elder Randall is a recipient of the Women's Entrepreneurship Certificate in Homiletics from Howard University and is a certified life coach, public speaker, and domestic violence advocate. Folks, let us welcome Elder Joan T. Randall to the A Collision with Purpose project in the Spotlight.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Laxley. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be here. And boy, listening to that thing, I'm like, oh my God, it's so much. But I am so appreciative and honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's so much, but guess what? All achieved, right? All attained.
Absolutely.
So, Elder Joan, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the A Collision with Purpose project in the Spotlight. I am looking forward to having an engaging, insightful, and interactive conversation with you about a topic which I believe is arguably one of the most consequential concepts in forming how we function as individuals and ultimately what we perceive as our legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, I cannot wait to have this conversation. I've watched you do so many of these interviews and have so many of these conversations. And I'm just happy now I get the opportunity to put my insight and my spin and my knowledge of self, right? My knowledge of self to this conversation.
And I so appreciate you for saying that because at the end of the day, it's all about knowledge of self, isn't it?
Yes,
That's what
yes,
purpose is
sir.
about.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. So before we dive into our conversation about purpose, I want you to take me back to your early days. What was it like growing up?
Wow, the first thing that comes to mind as you say that to me is how different I was from my siblings and my cousins. I remember as this young girl growing up on the island of Jamaica that I was never one to play outside and climb trees and pick the fruits like everybody else. I was so different. I was always insightful. And this is what my earliest memory as a child was. There are three things that stand out. Number one, I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I was smart. That looking back, I could say I was smart, right? I was going to primary school, or that's the term we used then. But everything I learned, I also wanted to help others learn. So I would gather the children in my neighborhood, and we had this big board, at the place that we lived, and I would bring home chalk from school. And so I would teach all of these kids how to spell their names and how to break it up in syllables. And I cannot forget my very best friend. Her name was Sharon Calhoun, and her name was spelled Calquhon. So she had a difficult time spelling her name and memorizing how to spell her name. She knew it, but it was hard for her. So we were the same age, but I was way advanced than she was. So I would teach her. I would put COL with a strike down the middle, QUH with another strike, and then OUN. So I was teaching her how to Kahaloon, right? Kaloon. And that was in my memory. And then I did that every weekend until I got to about probably 8 years old. I started teaching people the 66 books of the Bible, not people, kids. So I would write on this board, Genesis to Revelation, right? There were 33 books in the Old Testament, 27 books in the New Testament, and I would teach them to memorize all 66 books of the Bible. That was my earliest memory. But then I got to be a teenager, and when everybody else was playing, I would sit on my parents' veranda and I would look out to the horizon and dream of what it would be like for me to be beyond the horizon. I always wanted to know what's over there beyond that water. And sometimes I would see the cruise ships passing by, and I would sit and think, I wonder what are the people that are taking this cruise now doing? So my mind was always steps ahead of where I was. It was like my body was here, but I was trying to play catch up because my mind was so expansive, Dr. Laxley. That's what I remember about myself.
You said some things there, you know, your difference, playing with words, teaching. But I like what you said about chasing the horizon.
Yeah.
And that's a moving thing, right? So you'll never get there, but you're always progressing in doing so. Isn't that what it's about?
That's amazing that you summed it up that way. Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing. And so much of what you do now is informed by your early childhood and the things
Yes.
you know. Yeah. So quite interesting.
Yeah.
You know.